program is rated GE. Content carried in here is suitable for general family viewing.
Good morning, all our viewers from wherever you're watching us from, and welcome to today's lesson, Social Studies, Grade 6. And today I'm going to take you through the first topic of Social Studies in the CBC classes, which is Natural and Built Environments. That is our strand. And the substrand is Position, Size, and Shape of Eastern Africa. Now, Eastern Africa is a region which has 11 countries, and I'm going to list the countries of Eastern Africa. Eastern Africa has 11 countries. They include Kenya, our country, our immediate neighbors, Uganda. Then we also have Tanzania. We have Rwanda, we have Burundi, we have Somalia, we have Ethiopia, then we have Sudan, and we have South Sudan. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. South Sudan. I have not mentioned Eritrea. And up there in Eritrea we have Djibouti. And if you count them, they add up to 11. These are the 11 countries of the East African region, not the East African Commission. Now, these countries, there are some that are Kenya's immediate neighbors, and there are others that are not immediate neighbors of Kenya, but they are found within the region. The immediate neighbors of Kenya are Uganda, which borders Kenya to the west. We have Tanzania, which borders Kenya to the south. We have Somalia, which borders Kenya to the east. And we have Ethiopia, which borders Kenya to the south. And finally, we have South Sudan, which borders Kenya to the northwest. Those are the immediate neighbors of Kenya. Now, out of these countries, the largest country in terms of land mass in Eastern Africa is Sudan. Sudan is the largest. It has a total size of 1.886 million square kilometers. 1.886 million square kilometers. That is Sudan. It is a very large country. I think 3 times the size of our country, Kenya. Then the smallest country in Eastern Africa is Djibouti, a country that is to the northern side of Eastern Africa. Djibouti is very small. It is actually the size of a county here in Kenya. It is the smallest country. It only has a size of 23,200 square kilometers. You can see the difference between those two countries. This is approximately the size of Nairobi County or maybe Machakos County in Kenya. So it is very small. Then what is the size of our own country, Kenya? And these are the 3 most important countries which you need to master their sizes. The size of Kenya is 580,367 square kilometers. These kilometers may vary sometimes with a very small margin because they are estimates. They are not accurate measurements of the sizes of these countries. So these are the sizes of the countries of Eastern Africa, which you need to know. I could go on to give you the sizes of each country, but they are not very useful. The one that you need to know most is the size of the largest country in Eastern Africa, which is Sudan, the size of the smallest country in Eastern Africa, which is Djibouti, and the size of Kenya, which is our own country. Wow. So now we are going to, that is about the size of countries of Eastern Africa. Now next, we are going to deal with the shape of Eastern Africa. And in the shape of Eastern Africa, I have a model here of the map of Eastern Africa, how it looks like. This is how the map of Eastern Africa looks like. It is wider to the north. It is narrow to the south. Then it has something here that looks like the horn. This is what we call the Horn of Africa. This one here. It is where Somalia is located. And my dear students, don't say Somali. It is Somalia. That is the country. Somali is the language that they speak in Somalia. So this is the size, this is the shape, of Eastern Africa. Towards the top here, we have Eastern Africa bordering the Red Sea. And the countries which border that are Eritrea and Djibouti. Then somewhere at the center here, down here, is where we have our country, Kenya, and to the south is where we have Tanzania. Then we have Somalia to this side. We have Uganda to this side, that is to the east. Then we have, Uganda to this side. Then we have Ethiopia here, but on top of Ethiopia there is Eritrea and Djibouti, which is the smallest country in Eastern Africa. So I'm going to go now into still identifying the countries in Eastern Africa. And what we are going to do right now is identify the capital cities of these countries of Eastern Africa. So I'm going to mention the capital cities of each of these countries. Let me add Eritrea down here and Djibouti. So we start with our own country, and I know you know the capital city of Kenya. It is Nairobi. That's right. That is the capital city of Kenya. Why is a capital city very important when we are learning about the countries of Eastern Africa? Because these are the administrative centers of these countries. This is where these countries are actually run from. They also serve as industrial centers, and they serve many other functions, but key among them, administration. So you will find that parliament is mostly located in the capital cities, all the administrative offices, and many other things. So these are centers. Uganda, the capital city of Uganda is Kampala. Then the capital city of Tanzania is Dodoma. Dodoma, and you need to be careful. Most students confuse the capital city of Tanzania and they say it's Dar es Salaam. It isn't Dar es Salaam, it is actually Dodoma. Dodoma is at the center of Tanzania, while Dar es Salaam is a coastal city which borders the Indian Ocean that is in Tanzania. So it is like our own Mombasa. It's actually a few kilometers from Mombasa. Rwanda, the capital city of Rwanda is Kigali. Kigali. And as we continue in this topic now, we are dealing with the natural and built environments. When you shall be doing the built environment, you will again come back to this capital, Kigali, and you will see a museum there, which you will learn, which is located in Kigali, Rwanda. In Burundi, the capital city is Bujumbura. The capital city of Burundi is Bujumbura. Then the capital city of Somalia is Mogadishu. And I hope, my student, you are taking notes of this very important information that I'm giving you. The capital city of Ethiopia is Addis Ababa. Addis Ababa. Then the capital city of Sudan is Khartoum. Then the capital city of South Sudan is Juba. The capital city of Eritrea, my dear students, is Asmara. And the capital city of Djibouti is Djibouti. So the capital of Djibouti is just called Djibouti, just like the country. Those are the capital cities of the countries, the 11 countries that make up the East African region. Now, I want to go to a position. Where are they located? I've dealt with size and I've dealt with the shape of the Eastern Africa countries. The position of these countries, the Eastern African region is located to the east of Africa, and that is why it's called the Eastern African region. It doesn't mean the East African Commission. The East African Commission is a regional corporation of some East African countries, and some are not even Eastern African countries, like DRC, which where these countries have agreed to work together. That is called EAC. And you need to differentiate between the EAC and the East African region. EAC doesn't have all these countries as members. It even has countries that are outside the region as members. And it's open, some from Central Africa. Now, where is then the Eastern African region located position-wise in relation to the world, and where are these countries found? When we want to find the position of a country, we use latitudes and longitudes. Latitudes and longitudes. And that takes me now to latitudes and longitudes of Eastern Africa. Latitudes and longitudes of Eastern Africa. The latitudes are imaginary lines. So we can say that these are imaginary lines that run from east to west. These are imaginary lines that run from east to west. They are used to locate places in the world. Probably you have ever seen a globe map in your school, and in that globe map the latitudes are shown there very well. So I'm going to give you examples of latitudes. Latitudes are also called parallels. They are also called parallels. That's another name for latitudes. So the Earth is a sphere. A sphere is something that looks like this. Then we have a pole here, which is called the North Pole, and another pole here, which is called the South Pole. Now, the latitudes run, I told you, from west to east, or from east to west. So we have the main one there, the main line of latitude, and this main line of latitude is usually at 0 degrees, and it is called the equator. And it actually passes through our country, dividing our country into two. It passes in towns like Maseno, like Timboroa, and many other places, Nyahururu. The equator passes there. It's an imaginary line. So it's not a line you're going to see drawn. It's an imaginary line. It's drawn maybe in maps. So that is the equator at 0 degrees. Then we have other lines of latitude, the main ones, and I'm going to mention them to you, the other main lines of latitude. So that way, this one is a tropic. This one is called, it's at 23 and a half degrees, and it is called Tropic of Cancer. Tropic of Cancer. Then we have this other line. It's also a main line of latitude. It's at 66 and a half degrees, and it is called the Arctic Circle. So 0 degrees. Oh, sorry, I've forgotten to include a very important information, which is north. All these are to the north. The equator divides the world into two. So the northern side and the southern side. And these sides are called hemispheres. So we can call this the northern hemisphere. And this side can be called the southern hemisphere. So those are the major lines of latitude to the north. Then to the south, they are named almost the same. This one here at 23 and a half degrees south is called the Tropic of Capricorn. Tropic of Capricorn. These are tropics. I know you have ever heard of the word tropics and the word equator, and when we shall be doing climate, which is actually the next substrand after this, we'll learn how these tropics and the equator affects climate. Then we have 66 and a half degrees south, which is the Antarctic Circle. And those are the major lines of latitude. So we use these latitudes to actually tell where a country or a place is located in the map and in the world. So the latitudes of Eastern Africa. Eastern Africa lies between latitude. Now, Eastern Africa, let me write here. Eastern Africa lies between latitudes 22 degrees north and 12 degrees south. Eastern Africa lies between latitudes 22 degrees north and 12 degrees south. What does this tell you? It tells you that Eastern Africa lies along the equator and not on the tropics. You see, to the north, it is actually near the Tropic of Cancer, but it doesn't get to the Tropic of Cancer. And to the south, it doesn't get to the Tropic of Capricorn. And I'm going to tell you how that influences the climate of Eastern Africa. The nearer you are to the equator, the warmer it becomes. And that is why our country is a warm country, because we are near the equator, which influences our climate. So we enjoy the equatorial climate in Eastern Africa. Those are the latitudes. Now, next, I'm going to tell you about the longitudes of Eastern Africa. These are latitudes. Now, longitudes. So, this is still the northern hemisphere. Okay, I'm gonna have to wrap this. So, I draw another sphere. Still North Pole and South Pole. Now, longitudes are imaginary lines. Longitudes, we can use these statements. And don't call them longitudes, it's longitudes. These are imaginary lines that run from north to south. So longitudes, these are imaginary lines that run from north to south. So unlike the latitudes, which run from west to east, the longitudes run from north to south. And we have the main line of longitude, which is at the center there. And that main line of longitude is called the Greenwich. Greenwich meridian. The Greenwich meridian. Actually, another name for longitudes is meridians. Longitudes can also be called meridians. And dear students, why then is it called Greenwich? You could be asking yourself, it's called Greenwich because it passes through a town in London, which is called Greenwich Town. And that is where it gets the name. In Africa, the prime meridian passes through Accra in Ghana. It doesn't pass through Kenya because Kenya is to the eastern side of the Greenwich, or another name for Greenwich is prime meridian. Prime meridian. So that is a major line of longitude right there. There are, of course, other lines of longitudes, which I'm not going to go into detail to, just like the latitudes. So this one is the Greenwich is at 0 degrees, and it runs from north to south. What are then the differences between latitudes and longitudes? And to get the differences between latitudes and longitudes, we have to find the characteristics of latitudes and the characteristics of longitudes. And from my drawing, characteristics of latitudes, from the drawing, you saw that the latitudes, they are parallel. They don't meet at any point because you saw the equator runs like that, then the Arctic like that, the tropic, like, so they don't meet anywhere. They are parallel. Then we have, they are of different lengths. They are of different lengths. They are of different lengths. They are not of the same length. For instance, the equator was longer than the Arctic. The Arctic is smaller because I told you it's a sphere like this. So this one that is up here is shorter than this one that is here. So they are not of the same length. Then another characteristic of latitude is that they are 180 in number. The total number of latitudes are 180. And this is where we get the concept of 180 degrees in mathematics. 180 in number. Then another characteristics of latitudes is that they affect climate. And I told you the nearer you are to the equator, the warmer it becomes. The farther away you are from the equator, the colder it becomes. They affect climate, and those are the characteristics of latitudes. What about longitudes? Now, characteristics of longitudes. Characteristics of longitudes. First, they are not parallel. Not parallel, it means they meet. And if you draw a sphere like this, come draw a sphere here, then you start drawing your longitudes. They're usually something like this. So they meet, and they meet at the poles, the North Pole and the South Pole. So they meet here and they meet here, unlike the latitudes which don't meet anywhere. They are of the same length. They are of the same length. Then they are 360 in number. (360) in total. They are 360 in total. Then they affect time. They affect time. How do they affect time? The nearer you are to when you move to the east of the prime meridian, you gain time. But when you move to the west of the prime meridian, you lose time. And that is why people who stay in different places in the world, and they are divided between them by the meridian, they don't have the same time. If you called somebody right now from Europe, they could be far behind us in terms of time, about 6 hours behind. Why? Because it is to the west, so they lose time. And because our country is to the east, we gain time. So that is what makes the time difference in the world. It is the longitudes, and specifically the meridian. When you move to the east of it, you gain. When you move to the west of it, you lose. Those are the characteristics of latitudes and longitudes. So, up to this point, we have seen the position of Eastern Africa region. We have mentioned the countries. We have mentioned the capital cities. We have gone ahead and talked about the latitudes and longitudes of Eastern Africa. Now, to my last substrand this morning, or this afternoon rather, I am going to take you through the ways in which we can promote unity of the Eastern Africa countries. And I know you might be having ideas. You can send your comments. You can ask questions. Remember, you can interact with us. You can ask and we will answer you. And if you have ways in which we can promote unity of the Eastern African countries, I could be glad to have your comments. Ways in which we can promote the unity of Eastern African country. So that is under unity of Eastern Africa. Unity of Eastern Africa. Eastern Africa countries need to be united, and they need to be united because unity is strength. Without the unity of Eastern Africa, if we try to pull different sides, all of us, then we may not develop as fast as we could have maybe developed when we were together. So how can we promote unity of Eastern Africa? Number one, and the major way of promoting unity in any region is through trade. Trade. So trade, what is trade? Trade is buying and selling of goods and services. Trade is buying and selling of goods and services. So we can promote the unity of Eastern Africa through trade. On the second way, we can promote the unity of, so how trade? By having a common market. Those are some of the things that we can do before I go even to point two. A common market. Common market. Then we should also have a common currency. A common currency so that it is easier to trade. For instance, our currency is not the same. The Kenyan currency is the Kenyan shilling. We have the Ugandan shilling, the Tanzanian shilling, and many other different currencies. Ethiopia, Somali, they don't use the same currency. That is not good for trade. Number two, another way of promoting unity in Eastern Africa countries is having a common language. Having a common language. We are from different communities in Eastern Africa, sure. We speak different languages, but then we have a language that is rather common to all of us, which is Kiswahili language. And if we all embrace the Kiswahili language, then it will unite us as the Eastern Africa countries, not even English, because some countries like Rwanda and Burundi, they speak in French as their official language. But Kiswahili is common, and if we promote it and we speak in Kiswahili, all of us, then it will bring us closer and together, and we'll achieve the unity of Eastern Africa. So that is Kiswahili language. Then education. How can education bring us together? Education can bring us together by having the same education system, having common universities or higher institutions of learning where any student from any part of Eastern Africa can join. So universities where we can have students from Burundi, Rwanda, maybe coming to Nairobi in Kenyatta University to come and study there. That one enhances unity. And also Kenyans moving to universities of Eastern Africa. Instead of going to European universities, they can go to other universities that are within the region. So that is education, especially higher education. And another way of promoting unity in Eastern Africa is through EAC. EAC. EAC is a regional corporation which is called the East African Community. And we even have the EAC anthem, which we usually sing in our schools, the Eastern African Community Anthem. And not just that, we have the EAC Legislative Assembly, which is called IALA. That is the Eastern Africa Legislative Assembly, where we nominate members of parliament to move from our country and our different countries in the region, and they go to Arusha, where we have the parliament for IALA, Eastern Africa Legislative Assembly. The headquarters of IALA are in Tanzania, in a town called Arusha. So EAC also promotes other things instead of apart from legislation, apart from education. It also has sports, games and sports, and that is actually a point on its own: games and sports. Games and sports bring people together. Games and sports bring people together. For instance, right now, the whole world is literally gathered in a place called Qatar to watch the World Cup. So that all these people who have gone there, they have been brought together by sports, because people love sports and people love games. And therefore, as a region, we can have games and sports which cut across all the countries. So we have regional games, and we usually do have, especially in our co-curricular in schools, if you perform very well and you emerge the first at the national level, then the next from national level is usually Eastern Africa. We usually meet in one of the countries in Eastern Africa to now compete with the best of the best from the other countries in the region. Music festivals, drama festivals, you can go on, and that one brings us together as a region. Now, which are the other ways do you think can promote the unity of Eastern Africa? There are very many ways. I can't exhaust all of them. I could like you to send your answers and responses to the number on your screen. Which ways do you think we can use to promote unity in Eastern Africa? And that, boys and girls, brings me to the end of my lesson this morning. It has been a pleasure being with you. My name is Teacher Caleb. See you next time. Goodbye.